Hello again, Irish fans, and welcome to this week's edition of The Brian Kelly Show. And Brian, you're coming off a historic win over Clemson, where your team proved some things to themselves. What were your goals for this week in practice, and did you achieve them?
Yeah, first and foremost, understanding that how we got here, it was built on really adhering to our process on a consistent basis. In other words, day in and day out, doing the things necessary to be prepared to play at your very best. And our guys stuck with it. We didn't take any shortcuts. There wasn't anybody looking ahead. They got back to the practice field and prepared the right way.
You know, last week we talked about how after the Georgia Tech game, nobody was really talking about Ian Book, even though he played a clean, flawless game. Heading into the Clemson game, all of the quarterback attention was directed at Clemson's quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who could not play, and his talented freshman backup, DJ Uiagalelei, who played very well again. But when the game was over, it was Book who stole the show, making play after play with his arm and his feet to lead your team to a huge victory at 310 passing yards and a touchdown, 67 more rushing yards at key times. He deserved that game ball you gave him.
No doubt. I mean, I think, what's impressive more than anything else is that, we did not huddle in that game for the most part, too. We were worried about our signals being compromised. So, Ian is working off a wristband in that whole game. So that is all his communication to the huddle for the first time all year. That is not easy. That is taxing. He did that as well as handle a blitz and pressure situation, getting us in the right protections. He was virtually flawless there. So a lot of the work that was done in this game was put on Ian Book's shoulder, and he did it extremely well.
You can't take everything away, especially from a great team, and they were able to throw the ball on you as they do on everyone, but they normally also run it very well. And one of the most remarkable stats to come out of this game to me was the fact your defense held Clemson to just 34 rushing yards on 33 carries, and you held the ACC's all-time leading rusher, Travis Etienne, who grades out as the number one running back in the country, to just 28 yards on 18 carries. You knew you had a great defense. Do you think others are starting to notice?
Well, I hope so, because nobody's been able to handle this team in 5 years. And I mean nobody. Nobody in the SEC, nobody in the Big Ten. There's been no team that's been able to handle this team. And our defense, look, they threw the ball extremely well, but they want to run the football too. They know how important it is to run the football, and we took that away from them. And it put them in a position where they were chasing it all day. Now, they did catch up, but they certainly I don't feel like they were complete as a football team, because we made it very, very difficult for them to run the football.
Now, we touched on this a bit in our pregame radio interview, but you and your team are living a dynamic now that no Notre Dame team has ever lived through before. In a normal year, as an independent, if Notre Dame beats the top-ranked team and then takes care of business the rest of the regular season, you're in the playoff. Mm-hmm. This year, you have a lot more work to do to make that a sure thing. How do you approach that?
Yeah, we're just thinking about, each week and what we need to do to be a better version of ourselves, and an eye towards playing for an ACC championship. We were given the opportunity this year to play for one, and so our mindset, our focus has been, let's get to that championship game, and whoever it might be, whether it's Clemson or Miami or somebody else, let's be one of those teams. And so that's really been our focus, 1 week at a time. And continue to prepare the right way so we have a chance to win an ACC championship.
We'll break down Notre Dame's thrilling 47-40 double overtime win over top-ranked Clemson when we return after this timeout on The Brian Kelly Show, presented by TireRack.com, the ultimate in contactless tire buying. It's time now for our game breakdown brought to you by Cannon. Coach, you always want to start fast, but you can't start any faster than you did in this game on your first official play from scrimmage, the 65-yard touchdown run by Kyren Williams.
Yeah, that was exciting. Well executed. This will go down as, one of those diagrams that you put up there at every clinic you go to, because it was clinic blocking. Jack, it was just a thing of beauty and a great way to start the game.
Now you're leading 13-10 in the second quarter when Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah comes up with a huge 23-yard fumble return for touchdown.
He was on Travis Etienne before he even knew it, and took the pitch right from him and turned it into a huge play and a touchdown for us. He's a playmaker, and he's a playmaker on defense, and one that you have to clearly game plan for, and it was a big momentum play for us.
And on the next Clemson possession, Owusu-Koramoah does it again, forcing an Amari Rodgers fumble. Nick McLeod recovers the fumble. That leads to another field goal, and you lead 23-10.
Yeah, another great defensive play, getting the ball out. And it's just unfortunate that we couldn't convert because we just had a couple of missed opportunities down in the red zone that, cost us a few points, quite frankly.
Now you dealt with some adversity in the fourth quarter, and you were down by a touchdown, 33-26, when you get the ball back with 1:48 left. On that possession's fifth play, Ian Book finds Avery Davis with a huge 53-yard pass to the Clemson 4-yard line.
Yeah, we wanted to isolate their safety in a one-on-one coverage situation. We had it earlier, and that was the pass breakup they had in the back of the end zone to Avery. We came back to a similar play where we were able to isolate him on the safety. Avery did a nice job of showing as if he was going to go to the corner route, and was able to get inside the safety. Very good throw by Book, and Avery takes it all the way inside the 5-yard line.
And then fittingly, 3 plays later, Book finds Davis with a 4-yard pass for the touchdown with 22 seconds left. Now, the folks with me said, do you go for 2? And I screamed no. Did you ever think of going for 2 in that situation?
Not really. I mean, you think about it a little bit, but we had worked too hard to get back in the game. It just didn't seem right to me that we were going to use all of our energy to get back in the game and then go for a 2-point conversion at that time.
People will remember Kyren Williams' 65-yard touchdown run to open the game, and he's fast, but they may not remember that your 2 touchdowns scored in the overtime were scored on power runs up the middle by Williams. He's as physical as he is fast.
There's no doubt. I mean, when he runs in there, he's bringing the hammer, and you could see it on the last touchdown run. The safety's unblocked, and he comes downhill, and Kyren rocks him.
You told your team all week that if they were going to beat Clemson, the top-ranked team in the country, they were going to have to take the victory away from Clemson. And on Clemson's final possession, your defense did just that, and they started by sacking DJ Uiagalelei on the first 2 snaps of that last possession of the game.
Yeah, we had got the momentum back now. I flipped sides and went down towards the band so we could get a little bit more energy, get a little bit more momentum. And it really paid off for us, because now with us being up, I think everything now started to get the momentum going on our side, and we get the big sack on first down. And now our guys are playing with great energy.
On the final play, Clemson tries to come up with a miracle. They don't succeed. What went through your mind and your body when that play ends and you know your team had won?
You never really know until you see, the referee raise his hand that the game is over. So once I saw his hand was up, by that time everybody is, congratulating me. All of that stuff happens so quickly, you don't have much time to think about it. I was just happy for our players and our coaches and all the work that they've put in to get to this point. It's been a long run to build it up to this point, and now we've got to continue to do our jobs to keep elevating.
You talked about the energy in the stadium. Only 11,011 fans were lucky enough to see this historic win in person, but during the game, Coach, they sounded like 50,000 people.
I was impressed. I really was. It was a really true game experience. Our guys felt it. We felt it. You could hear it. It was really very, very impressive to get that feeling with only about 11,000 fans.
So the Irish moved to 7-0 with their first victory over a number one team since 1993, a thrilling double overtime 47-40 win over Clemson. Coach Kelly will break down a number of the biggest plays from this historic win when we return on the Brian Kelly Show, presented by TireRack.com, the ultimate in contactless tire buying. It's time now for Irish Intel, sponsored by the experts at TireRack.com. This is where we let Coach control the video and get into the X's and O's of why a play worked. On the first official play from scrimmage for Notre Dame, 1st and 10 from the Irish 35-yard line, Ian Book hands off to Kyron Williams, who does the rest, 65 yards for the game's first score.
Yeah, Jack, this is Oregon, we call it. This is an outside zone play. And you'll see here, all of the offensive linemen are scoop blocking to the left. Great block by Eichenberg. Great block by the left tight end, Michael Mayer. You can see the seam that gets created right there. And then Kyron Williams, as he hits this seam, he makes the safety right here miss. A little inside-out move. Safety misses. He was the only one that was unblocked. And then he uses his speed to the end zone. So well executed, well blocked on the offensive line and tight end. And then the one unblocked player was left up to the running back, and he makes him miss.
With Notre Dame leading 13-7 in the second quarter, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah uses his amazing speed and athleticism to come up with one of the great defensive plays in Notre Dame history.
Well, this is a pretty explosive play for us. When you have a guy like Jeremiah Owusu, he immediately sees the outside zone option here, and he beats the blocker and immediately goes and takes the ball away from the pitch that was going to be made to Etienne. Etienne takes his eye off for 1 second, and that's where we see the fumble. And again, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is just so fast. Gets tracked down right at the end there, but just an explosive play from an explosive player.
Coach, we're going to pick it up now with just over a minute left in the fourth quarter. You are trailing by a touchdown when Ian Book hits Avery Davis for a 53-yard gain at the Clemson 4 to set up that tying touchdown.
Well, we get the coverage that we wanted in this formation, and that's the matchup of Avery Davis on their safety. Their safety is a flat foot safety here. Avery does a great job with an outside fake as if he was going to run to the corner, and then brings it back inside to the post, accelerates. Ian throws it on time, and just a great execution of a play gets us down just inside the 5-yard line. Gives us the opportunity here to tie the football game.
And that will do it for this week's Irish Intel segment. Coming up, Bill Reese will join us to give us a scouting report on the Boston College team the Irish will face this weekend. That's coming up right after this quick timeout on the Brian Kelly Show, presented by TireRack.com, the ultimate in contactless tire buying. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Show, presented by the experts at TireRack.com, the ultimate in contactless tire buying. It's time now for our weekly segment with Notre Dame Director of Scouting, Bill Reese. Bill, I think Notre Dame's performance against Clemson answered a lot of people's questions about the state of the Notre Dame football program here in 2020. What did the performance reinforce for you about where this program is in relation to the other elite programs in the country?
Well, like any elite program, you need a couple of key elements. And one, we have great leadership at the top, starting with Coach Kelly, Jack Swarbrick. They have been instrumental in giving the program everything that we need. And then we have a good influx of talent and a good combination of players that can impact early in their careers, some other guys that can play roles, and others that have high ceilings and that can develop. And I think you saw that come together not only Saturday night, but really over the last 30 or 40 games.
Now, the Irish are ranked number 2 in the nation, the highest Notre Dame's been ranked since 2012. You began your college coaching career back in 1976. I know coaches and players always say they don't pay attention to rankings, but based on all your years in football, what does it mean to the players and coaches to have the media and their peers in coaching recognize the successes of this year's Notre Dame team in this way?
Well, I think the one thing that in this year, I'm not so sure the polls will have quite the same effect because it's such a crazy year. November, games are getting postponed. People are, getting, so many different, curves thrown at them as the season has gone on. But I will say this, it's a reflection of the hard work, the production that the team has had, how well they've played, and it serves as a good motivation to keep it going and keep the status of where we're at.
The Irish team also received the most weekly awards I can remember following the Clemson game, and I want to get them on the show. The Football Writers Association named Notre Dame its Team of the Week. Coach Kelly was named the Dodd Trophy Coach of the Week. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was named both the Chuck Bednarik and Bronco Nagurski Player of the Week. Jonathan Doerer is the Lou Groza Award Star of the Week. Kyron Williams, Aaron Banks, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah were all named the ACC Player of the Week at their respective positions. Ian Book was named to the Week 10 Davey O'Brien Award Grade 8 list. Book and Williams were also put on the CFPA National Performer of the Year Trophy November watch list. And Avery Davis earned honorable mention for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Player of the Week. Like the rankings, awards are something a team works hard not to think about a lot during a game week. But this recognition inside the team and in today's society outside the team has to have a positive impact, especially when potential recruits see current Irish players being honored in this way.
Well, there's no question that we had a lot of outstanding individual efforts last week, and it's really good to see these guys getting recognition. They've worked very hard, and it's a true, honor for them to get that type of national acknowledgement. So obviously it does help in recruiting. Kids see that. We send it out and acknowledge what our players are doing and how they're recognized nationally.
And you got to really feel good for Avery Davis. Here's a young man, a lot of talent, a lot of speed. He's done everything you've asked him to do. He's played 4 different positions, and he comes up with 2 of the biggest plays and one of the biggest Notre Dame victories in decades.
He has really played well the last month. It's really starting to come together for him. And the move that he made to get open on that 53-yard completion was outstanding. He juked inside and then went right to the post, made a great hands catch and almost split the 2 defenders to score. But he's been outstanding, and I would expect him to continue to play even a bigger role.
Now, I do want to talk a bit about our player guest on this show this week. Drew White did not make any award list this week, but he had an outstanding game, tying for the team lead in tackles with 9. Also had a pass breakup and a tackle for loss. He has started all 7 games at Mike linebacker this season, 19 of the last 20 games at the position. Talk about his development.
Well, Drew has become a 3-down linebacker. He can play the run extremely well. He can blitz. He can cover. He is really the glue of our defense. He makes all the calls. He gets people lined up, and he plays with such a physicality to him. When he can get off a block and get on a running back and knock him back, it's a real tone setter. And he was outstanding on Saturday night. He has a tremendous instinct to find the football, to get into gaps. And, he's a true extension of Coach Lee and Coach Lee's defense.
Well, coming off the emotions of the first Notre Dame win over a number 1 team in 27 years, this team did face a quick turnaround to focus on the next challenge at hand. And this week, that challenge is facing a Boston College team that has a history of spoiling Notre Dame seasons in the past. How did that transition process of going from elation to focusing on the next big challenge go for the team this week?
I think the team's really eager to get back out on the field and start playing. This is a very mature football team, a very focused football team. They understand what's ahead of them. And I think they're eager to play a new opponent, new environment, and get on and to this week's game and go 1-0 this week.
Now, the national storyline in this game, in addition to Notre Dame being ranked second in the country and leading the ACC, is the play of Notre Dame transfer Phil Jurkovec at quarterback. Now, a change of teams often helps a player. Phil himself admitted when he arrived in Boston that he struggled with a lot of things on the field while at Notre Dame, but he is excelling now with the Eagles. As you scouted him for this game, how has he changed?
Well, I'm not sure he's changed a whole lot. He's a year older, obviously, and he's a very accomplished quarterback. He looks like he's playing with confidence and understands what they're trying to do, and they're utilizing his strengths, and it'll be a good challenge for our football team because of just his overall skill set. So, I know we're looking forward to, defending the entire Boston College defense, and, they can run it as well. So it's a good complement of what he stepped into.
Do you think it's an advantage of any kind for Notre Dame or BC that Phil was here for so long, or does that not matter?
I don't think it really matters. I think it's, once the game's started, everyone's going to be worried about, hey, this is our call. This is the play we're going to run. We're going to be, clued into our assignments and what we're doing, not so much who's doing it.
Now, both teams have the best possible common opponent in Clemson. Now, how does that fact help you when you prepare a scouting report?
It's interesting because Clemson, we played them back to back. So, the players are, almost identical. The depth chart really didn't change all that much. But as an example, Clemson has a very good wave of outside pass rushers. And when I can grade our guys going against those rushers and then compare it to the offensive tackles that are at Boston College, it gives me a very good scale of who's going to, do what against, certain offensive tackles, how their defensive ends matched up against us, how they matched up against Boston College, what worked against us, what worked against Boston College. Those types of things are really, a good barometer to, for comparison.
Boston College has shifted from a good run-first team to this year a good pass-first team. Is that due only to the arrival of Phil Jurkovec and the loss of the school's all-time leading rusher in A.J. Dillon, or is it more than that?
I think it's a little bit more philosophical. They have a new coaching staff, and I think they wanted to be more balanced. And their offensive coordinator has NFL experience, so he's going to bring a lot of, NFL concepts to the passing game. I think they always have felt like they can run the football. So it's a lot more balanced than it's been in the past where it was, very run heavy. And of course, losing Dillon, would take out a prime component of that offense. But I think it's more philosophical where they've just said, look, we want to throw the ball more. We want to be more balanced.
What are BC's strengths this year defensively?
Well, I think they really reflect Jeff Hafley, their head coach, who has a strong defensive background. He's been in the NFL as a defensive coordinator. He's coordinated at Ohio State. And you can see his influence on the defense, where they are structurally very sound, where they're running, very, good schemes to take advantage of their personnel. And I think he's just, instilled a lot of confidence in their defense. They've got good linebackers that can run. They can get some pressure on the quarterback. They have nice coverage skills and concepts in the back end that complement what they're doing up front. So it's a really well-coordinated, well-devised defense. And, statistically, they're having a real good year.
BC's Alumni Stadium is known for being a tough place to play. The fans are right on top of you. And let's say, well, they have a tendency to be outspoken, but there will be no fans at the game Saturday. I imagine that has to be a plus for the Irish.
Well, I wish they would take those aluminum stands out of there. It just, you can hear those things echoing, when the wind comes through. But, I think we'll bring our enthusiasm, our energy. We'll be ready to play. The team, like I said before, I think they're really looking forward to getting back on the field, taking on a new opponent, and taking care of business.
At this point in the season, with the goals this team has, well, the bottom line is always win the game. It is more than that. Playing well and executing the game plan as close to perfection as possible is also important because of those long-term goals. So what are your keys to Notre Dame achieving these goals?
I think it goes back again to the energy and the enthusiasm that we bring to the game, to be focused and really play complementary football. The offense, the defense, special teams all play their part, with the focus and the intensity and the toughness that all three phases have shown. And we know when you go to Boston College, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a hard-nosed, physical football game. That's how they want to play, and that's how we want to play. So, we're going to know that going in, and we just need to match that type of intensity and toughness, from the very first play.
So finally, Bill, a bye week is coming up next week. How timely is that for this team?
Well, I think it's very timely. We've had a long stretch here of playing. The semester is winding down, so I know a lot of our guys are, anxious to finish up the semester, be strong academically, have some time to kind of recharge a little bit, give us a few extra days to get ready for the next game and, be ready to go from there. But it comes at a real good time for us.
Bill, as always, a terrific and informative conversation. I know the fans appreciate it, and I do too. Good luck this weekend in Boston.
Jack, thanks a lot.
Coming up, Coach Kelly will take over the airwaves for his weekly chat with a former Irish player. This week, Brian catches up with the leading Irish rusher from a couple of seasons ago and now current member of the Green Bay Packers, Dexter Williams. This is the Brian Kelly Show, presented by TireRack.com, the ultimate in contactless tire buying. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Show. The first time Dexter Williams touched the football for Notre Dame in 2018, he raced 45 yards for a touchdown to give the Irish a 7-0 lead over Stanford. He went on to rush for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game and finished the 2018 season with 995 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns despite playing in just 9 games. Williams is now in his second season with the Green Bay Packers after being selected by the Packers in the 6th round of the 2019 NFL Draft. Brian Kelly caught up with Dexter Williams earlier this week.
Handoff here to Williams.
I'm glad to see that you got the family with you.
Yes, sir.
It's good to have Mom there. She cooks a little bit too. That's nice.
Oh yeah, she's definitely keeping me fed.
It's good to have Mom there because you know that he's going to eat pretty good, right?
And behave.
Well, only a little bit. You raised a great young man, so it's good to see you both.
You too. Thank you, sir.
Yes, well, thank you, and get healthy.
Yes, sir.
And I'll get LaFleur on the phone, and we'll see those carries up in a few weeks. You got it?
All right.
The boys are doing well here. They, I don't know, you probably didn't hear about it, but the guys played pretty good, didn't they?
Oh yes, sir. They played a hell of a game. It's hard not to hear about it. Every time you turn on the TV, you see it playing on the TV. So, and I love it.
But you know what, Dexter? That's you were part of building that. You know that, and
yes, sir.
What you left, they've been able to kind of carry on, and Now they got that breakthrough win, and they've got a lot of confidence now, which is great.
Yes, sir. And they're playing with a lot of confidence too.
Hey, we miss you and we love you here, and thanks for jumping on the show with me tonight. All the fans were asking for you, and they wanted to see how you were doing.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on the show. Go Irish.
All right, take care. Good night. Have a great night.
All right, take care.
That's Coach Kelly's conversation earlier this week with former Irish star running back Dexter Williams. I'll chat with Notre Dame linebacker Drew White when we come back. This is The Brian Kelly Show, presented by the experts at TireRack.com, the ultimate in contactless tire buying. Welcome back to The Brian Kelly Show. For more than 50 years, Gatorade has fueled the best athletes to rise to the occasion during their biggest moments. From young athletes just starting to turn heads to some of the best athletes to ever play their games, Gatorade shows they are the proven fuel of the best. The best are fueled by the best. Then, now, forever. Nothing beats Gatorade. It's time now for this week's Notre Dame player interview presented by Gatorade. This week, I had the chance to sit down via Zoom with the third leading tackler on this year's Notre Dame squad, starting Mike linebacker Drew White. Drew, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You had an outstanding game against Clemson, tying for the team lead in tackles with 9, with a tackle for loss and a pass breakup to play a huge role in Notre Dame's first victory over a number 1 ranked team in 27 years. So I got to start with this. What was it like to beat the top ranked team in the country?
Yeah, it was very special. It was something I kind of reflected on after the game, everything before the game and during the week. In my mind, I just made it to be a regular game. I come into the facility. I mean, we as a unit, as a defensive unit, come into the facility every week, and we talk about like a faceless opponent, and we want to, perform to our level, our standard that we call. So, really, prior to the game and everything leading up to it, I really didn't focus on who we were playing. We're playing the number 1 team in the country. I really just was focused on our standard of football and wanted to play to the level that we knew as a defense we could play to.
Now, you've started all 7 games at Mike linebacker this season and 19 of the last 20 over the past 2 seasons. You're having a terrific season at this point. You're Notre Dame's third leading tackler with 31 stops, including 4 tackles for loss and 2 quarterback hurries with a pass breakup. Talk about how you have worked on your game to become one of the most important defensive players on the field for the Irish.
Yeah, I think I've just developed a self-awareness of my weaknesses, my strengths, just throughout the offseason, what I can get better at. And it's just been a collective effort through a linebacker unit that I previously said I think has the most depth in the country, and it makes us all push each other to new levels. And there's no doubt that all of the guys in the room, all the mics in the room, including Bo Bauer and JD Bertrand, and then all of the Buck linebackers, they push me every day, and we try to push the unit as a whole to get better. And I think I've just benefited from that type of great system.
And you are helping push the entire defense to higher levels. Notre Dame is the 5th best rushing defense in the country and the 10th best total defense. In addition to the linebackers, why is this defense so good this year?
I think this defense is really good this year because of the bond that we have with each other and the culture that's been created within the program and within the defensive unit. All 11 guys out on the field. We're not playing for our individual stats and our, NFL dreams. We're playing for each other, all 10 other guys on the field. And, that's my mindset when I'm on the field is I want to give everything I got because I know the 10 other guys on the field are giving everything they have. And I don't want to be the weak link. And I think that's just pushed the defense to a new level this year that people are seeing is just the brotherhood and the camaraderie and the great culture that we have on this unit.
Now, you played high school football for one of the best programs in the country, St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's a school that has sent a bunch of players to Notre Dame and still leads all high schools in America with 14 players on NFL rosters this season, including former Irish offensive lineman Sam Young. So did you reach out to any of these players for advice during the recruiting process?
I didn't reach out to too many people. I know I talked to a lot of the guys within our 2017 class, which really aided in the culture that we have now. It's because all of us seniors now have been, very close since the beginning, since we all were getting recruited. And I remember that was a big thing for me in recruiting, was when I felt like all the commits and all the people that were coming into the program had already a great brotherhood. And, I think it's almost coming into fruition now. And that was definitely something that I looked to when I was getting recruited by Notre Dame.
Why'd you end up choosing Notre Dame? You had a lot of options.
Well, half of it was I grew up a Notre Dame fan my whole life. Started with my grandparents. And so we'd watch Notre Dame games every Saturday on NBC. So that's half of it. And the other half of it was reflection on what Notre Dame can do for me. When you're getting recruited, you want to act selfishly. You want to say, okay, where can I be the best? Where can I see my best self come out? And just through reflection, I thought the challenging academics and, a great football team and culture would bring out the best in me and mold me into the man that I knew I wanted to be. So that's really what fled into it.
And you're certainly taking advantage of the academic side. You're enrolled in the College of Science, majoring in science business. How do you balance that course load and elite college football at the same time?
Yeah, it takes a lot of discipline. I've really grown from it. I had a lot of ups and downs. It wasn't all smooth sailing. I can't tell you the secret recipe, but when you're in a lot of tough classes and you got practice every afternoon, it's tough, but it molds you into that person that I knew I wanted to become, and it makes you have great time management. It gets you to build really healthy and good habits that I'll take. Once I leave Notre Dame, I'm going to take those same habits and routines that I've created here and do it for the rest of my life.
So I know one of the things you're thinking about is possibly going to medical school. What other options do you think this degree will give you down the road? Sure.
So, med school is definitely an option. And if I decide not to go that route, I definitely want to do something in healthcare, especially with all this coronavirus stuff happening now. I think definitely healthcare is a center of concern for the United States and people. So that's definitely a field that I'm looking forward to getting into after football.
Is it going to be a little strange going up against Phil Dracovic this weekend?
I think I can't tell you what it's going to be like because I haven't done it yet, but I think so. I played it in my head. It should be a little weird. I think I'm used to looking across and seeing him in practice, but I'm excited. I know he's a competitor and we're all competitors. So, we're just going to go out there and have fun. We're all going to try and win. And I wouldn't want it any other way. And I'm very excited to go out there and play against him.
Now, BC always gets up for Notre Dame. And, of course, Irish fans are worried about what happened back in 1993, way before you were born, when Notre Dame beat number 1 Florida State and then lost to BC the next week. So what does this defense need to do to make sure history does not repeat itself at BC this weekend?
Sure. And that's something that, I kind of referred to previously was, like for the Clemson week, there's no change with this Boston College week that, we need to forget about the Clemson win. We say 24 hours to celebrate. And then, what, after the season, we can reflect on that win as long as we want and we can replay those memories. But this week we're back in the Goog, we're back out in practice and it's a faceless opponent and we're trying to be better than we were next week. And there is a lot of rooms for improvement, a lot of areas. And we know that from watching film. So, so this Tuesday practice had a lot of good high energy and effort out there. And, I'm extremely confident going into this week that we'll play up to our standard.
Drew, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. Good luck against Boston College.
Thank you so much.
Folks, that's Notre Dame starting Mike linebacker Drew White. When we return, we'll take a look at today's college football scoreboard. But first, this short timeout. This is the Notre Dame Football Radio Network. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Show, presented by TireRack.com, the ultimate in contactless tire buying. You said even before the Clemson game that regardless of what happened in the Clemson game, the next week, the Boston College game would be the biggest game of the year for your team, and that has not changed.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, they all count as one, right, Jack? So, we could do all these things and have all these great accolades and a great victory, but it gets canceled out if you don't beat Boston College. So the focus has been, how do we get back to understanding the importance of week to week? And our guys have been great at it. And so we went back to work, focusing on our total preparation, utilizing the practice week to prepare this football team for a really good challenge from Boston College.
There is a storyline to every game. And of course, you were asked a lot of questions this week about playing against Boston College quarterback Phil Jurkovec, who transferred from Notre Dame in the offseason. Is there any advantage for Notre Dame to game planning against a quarterback that you know so well?
No, I mean, he's in a different system and a different offense. And, I think Phil has shown who he is this year, based upon his work experience as the quarterback at BC. So we'll defend what they have shown and what he has shown as his body of work. He really didn't get much, work here with us. He was taking second team reps. So, there was really no defending Phil from that perspective. But now, as the leader of the Boston College offense, we know what we have to defend relative to the work that he's put on film. And again, look, college quarterbacks transfer all over the place. And look, Oklahoma has had a number of Heisman Trophy winners that have transferred in there. So they transfer all the time because they want the opportunity to play. And Phil's no different. He wanted an opportunity to play. He's got it. And he'll get a chance to play us on Saturday.
Now, beyond the Eagles passing game, what else stands out to you about the BC squad that you take on Saturday?
They're a gritty group. They're well coached. I think Jeff does a really good job of preparing his football team. They're going to keep the points down defensively. They're physical, well coordinated, experienced coordinators on both sides of the ball. They've got a young, aggressive defensive coordinator, and Coach Signetti on offense has been around a long time. He does a really good job. So just really good coaching staff, and they'll be well prepared.
Every team gets up for you, but for BC, you and I are both from Boston, and I think we agree they get up for Notre Dame more than any other school they play. And now you're coming off a victory over the number one team in the country, so you've got that target on your back. What will you tell your guys to best prepare them for what they're going to face from Boston College on Saturday?
Well, I mean, we're not holding anything back. We're pretty transparent with the guys. We were talking about Clemson 2 weeks before we were playing Clemson. So, we're telling our guys that if you're not ready to play, you just gave up one of the greatest victories that you'll ever have. And all they'll talk about is you losing the BC. So if that's what you want, you can get that very easily if you don't understand how important it is to prepare. And then when it's time to play, you're going to have to compete at a high level. And as long as they do that, they'll be fine. But I have not seen this football team not understand the messaging from week to week. They have adhered to everything that we've asked them to do, and I expect them to do the same thing against Boston College.
So from an X&O perspective, what are the keys?
Well, first and foremost, we are who we are and they are who they are, because we're into the 8th week of the season. For us, it's going to run the football, take our shots on the perimeter. And defensively, obviously, we want to keep the points down. We played an incredibly gifted team in Clemson. They're not the same team as Clemson, BC, but they're a good football team. So, we want to get back to our defensive structure, keeping the points down, not giving up any big plays. And I think if we do that, it gives us a chance on the offensive side of the ball to get some points on the board.
Ryan, thank you, and good luck against Boston College.
Thanks, Jack.
Folks, that will do it for this week's edition of the Brian Kelly Show. Coach and I will return next week at this time to break down the game with Boston College and look ahead to another tough road game the day after Thanksgiving at North Carolina. Until then, for Coach Kelly, I'm Jack Nolan. Thanks so much for tuning in, and as always, go Irish.